Three, two, one, ghost. Hey, everybody. Welcome to 321 Ghost. I'm your host with a silent G, Kyle, and as always, joined by my player two, Natalie. Hey, Natalie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? That was a good
Good.
one.
And player two, and that's how it's going to be. I gotta be player one. Sorry.
Of course.
Do you like, I mean, I play more video games than you do, though I don't know if
True.
that's true because you do like more like mobile gaming, right?
Lately, but not a lot. But yeah, I haven't like steady been gaming for like 10 years.
And you're pretty good at Mortal Kombat. I think that's been documented here.
Okay, that I do play. Yeah, I am pretty good at Mortal Kombat. Yeah.
I bought the last one that came out, Mortal Kombat 1, and
hmm
it doesn't run super great on what I'm like playing it on, which is my Steam Deck, but I do like having it
Um,
handheld, which is really cool. And I got the Ghostface DLC because I was
oh, that's
like,
fun.
because here I was like, should I get it? And then my wife was just like, what? Why is that even a question for you? Just buy
Why
it.
wouldn't you?
Here, I'll buy it for you. Like, it'd be kind of criminal for that game to exist and Ghostface to be an option and you not doing it.
hmm
Um, I feel like I've talked about this before, but I think you're I think you're Billy. I don't think it clearly states it, but I'm pretty sure you're Billy. But I just kind of tell myself I'm Mrs. Loomis as I'm fighting
I
Sub-Zero.
I love that, but I do
Yeah.
think that it is Billy specifically as well.
Who, I mean, largely would be unmatched in my humble opinion against, Sub-Zero. But
Or any of those characters really.
or yeah, even some of the lesser,
Yeah.
lesser tier ones.
Yeah.
But hmm. So, but that being said, hey everybody, we're talking about 2003's video game themed horror film Stay Alive.
Mhm.
We've talked.
2006.
Oh shit, sorry. 2003 was Identity.
Yes.
What a decade for horror movies. Ooh boy.
It's a little rough.
Or at least we're picking from the bottom. It's bad though.
We don't know why.
That decade still though, it's like when it was mostly paranormal activities and Saw movies were like the main
Yeah.
draws.
Yeah.
Um I mean there were some obviously, good ones in between, like, 28 Days Later or um Slither, just off the
Yeah.
top of my head. I don't know. I don't have a list in front of me, but we both love horror video games quite a bit. I would
Yeah.
argue that video games are still the only form of horror that like really can still get to me, which I don't think
Mhm.
is a bold statement to make, right? Especially when
Not
you're
a
feeling like you're in it. You're the one being affected. You know what I mean? Especially like I would not do like a VR horror game. Fuck that noise.
No,
Ugh.
no. Yeah, I absolutely agree. We've talked about video games quite a bit, considering this is the first movie that kind of has a video game theme to it.
Mhm.
Um, but I agree, like horror movies don't generally scare me anymore, but when I'm playing like a Resident Evil game or something like that, I feel like my life is at stake as much as these kids in this movie.
I had dipped out of playing video games outside of like, you know, Mario Kart maybe for I don't know. Really? Gosh, I'd say from like the late 90s into the mid 2000s. And I jumped back in getting a used Xbox 360, um, Alan Wake and Dead Space.
Mm,
And
such good
dude,
ones.
fuck, I mean, Alan Wake, absolute goddamn banger of a classic,
Yeah.
but Dead Space, fucked me
Dead
up.
Space is scary.
Oh my God. And Dead Space 2 is even better. That's the best of the series as far as
Oh,
I'm
I've never
concerned. But
played it.
like, it's so like, especially with like a good TV with the lights off, with a good sound system, like, oh Jesus, all hearing all the
hmm
critters and shit
Oh,
up in
the
the vents and
clanking
stuff.
and stuff. Oh, yeah, no.
Shit fucks me up. It's
hmm
great. Um, and I mean, there's been movie adaptations of horror video games. Um, I still kind of think Mortal Kombat counts. because it does have monsters and gore, you know,
Yeah, it's got a lot of killing in it. I would count Mortal Kombat.
right? I think so. Like
Yeah.
it's a fantasy horror,
Yeah.
you know. Um, Most of them like Uwe Boll directed ones, like Alone in the Dark and shit like that.
Mm,
But most of them are all pretty bad. Resident Evil, right?
yeah.
Those,
Yeah. I don't like those movies. And I love Resident Evil. Maybe that's why I don't like the movies, but those games were very important in my gaming history for sure.
oh yeah, especially those first four,
Oh yeah.
you know. Dang. Those remakes are really good too, you know, two, three, and four that have come out.
Yeah, I've only played the remake of two so far.
Yeah. The remake of three is good, but honestly, it feels like really just an extension of two.
Yeah.
Um, as far as like the types of puzzles, the gameplay, I mean, even the
Mm-hmm.
location, you know, you're back at the
For
police
sure.
station and the hospital
Yeah.
and such.
Raccoon
And,
City.
but they gut quite a bit from the original game that I guess they were just like, there's just no way for this to translate to a modern era or what have you. But
Mm-hmm.
so it's okay. I finished through that and then I'm gonna get back to four
Oh, I
and
want to do that. I
finish
want to
that up.
replay that one. That one was such a fun game.
Yeah.
And that came out the year before this movie.
And then the movie itself, Stay Alive, I'm trying to think, the only horror games I remember it referencing are Silent Hill 4, which I was like, did they make it to
Mm-hmm.
4? And then um Fatal Frame, I think, which is also
Mm.
pretty cool. I like Fatal
Mm-hmm.
Frame. So this movie is directed by William Brent Bell. Are you familiar with William Brent Bell?
I was not, so I took a peek at his movies and I was like, he couldn't have done anything that I love because this movie is shit, but I was wrong
Yeah,
because he's responsible for Orphan First Kill.
100%. And
Yeah.
I haven't seen the Boy movies, but they're supposed to be
Um,
okay.
they're okay. Like they're creepy, but they're not fun movies.
I don't remember The Devil Inside either.
That
Nor
was
did I see
fine. I
Lord of
saw that too.
Misrule, but the poster
That
looked
I've
kind of
never
cool for
seen.
it. But look at that growth, Natalie. You know what I mean? Going from a movie like this, like that is fucking Banquet to Beachers. Like going from fucking this movie here to Orphan First Kill, which
But that took a long time, almost
it took a
20
long time.
years.
Well, you know, it growth isn't exactly a straight line. You know what I mean? Like, hey,
Yeah.
takes people to grow into who they're meant to be. You know, like when did Jean Grey become the Phoenix, right? Not until she was like in her 30s. So maybe 20s, I don't know. But still, it takes a while.
I thought 30s.
I think so too.
For the accomplishments that she has, I think she'd be in her at least in her early 30s.
Like, you mean like academically, professionally, or just like X-Men wise?
All three.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a three-tool player. Um, this movie stars John Foster. I don't know him from anything, do you?
No, I didn't
Yeah.
recognize him.
Really the only people I recognize in this movie are, of course, Frankie Muniz,
Hmm.
um, part-time child actor, full-time race car driver now, I think.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, yeah, he's super into that.
Oh, interesting.
Um, Jimmy Simpson, who
Hmm.
was in Westworld as well as It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Hmm.
Um,
I like him a lot. Not in this movie specifically, but I've seen him in a lot of things that I enjoy him in.
I feel like this movie was like an opportunity for him to like workshop like his shtick
Yeah.
because he has that sort of attitude in other
Yeah,
things,
I
but
agree.
it's less grating dialogue, you know?
Uh-huh,
So,
for sure.
and then also Vilo Ventimiglia. Isn't that one like that super depressing, sad show with Mandy Moore? I don't know. I always forget.
Oh, This Is Us. Yeah,
Sure.
I thought he was more known for Heroes though, but I guess no, This Is Us was a big deal, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
You're
never
right.
watched
I
it.
I totally forgot about Heroes. I was thinking about this, and then also he plays Sylvester Stallone's son, Rocky Jr., in Rocky 6 and
Oh,
in
okay.
Creed or parts of Creed 2. I forget, but
Hmm.
he pops up in those. Um, and then Samara Armstrong was in a Hanson video. So there you
Oh,
go.
okay.
Yeah. Oh, and Adam Goldberg, who's in a number of
Yeah, I know
things.
him.
Let's see. Sophia Bush, who plays October. That name sounds really familiar.
Sophia Bush.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was in a lot of things in the early 2000s, but what she's most known for is One Tree Hill.
that sounds right.
Yeah.
So, written by William Brent Bell, and Matthew Peterman, um, produced by Mick G, who was doing a number of things during that time. Geez, tried to find any awards or nominations on IMDb, but nope, there's
Uh,
nothing,
this this
which is
movie
fine.
has probably one of the lowest Rotten Tomato scores, I think, of any movie that we've discussed. It's 11%. But the audience score, so that's the critic score. The audience score
Mhm.
is a 56%. So that's a huge range. I don't know that I've seen that big of a divide in that direction. I thought that was pretty interesting. But you're the one who chose this movie. So would you like to explain why to our listeners?
I don't know, masochism, I suppose. Um, I remember watching this movie when it came out because I was still working at a movie theater at the time. So I probably screened the print at some point. Um, and was just like,
Yeah.
ah, video game horror movie, I'll have to pay for it. I'm 17, I've got nothing else going on. Absolutely, I'll sit and watch it. And also,
We were like 19 when this came out.
and the other thing too, this is a PG-13 horror movie, so it already has a little bit working against it. But
Ugh, a lot working against it. It really leaned into that PG-13 rating.
yeah, um, yeah, it's pretty, yeah. But when you do find a good PG-13 horror movie, it really slaps, you know? So I'm always looking for the diamond in the rough, but it was
Mhm.
mostly I was just a bored teenager, so I went and saw
Yeah.
it and it didn't cost me anything.
Yeah.
And I remember nothing of this movie outside of that part where Jimmy Simpson dies, Finn,
Oh, you remember
and
that specifically?
yeah, and then that's it. I don't remember any of the Elizabeth Bathory stuff. I don't remember really much of the video game and what it looked like.
Had you only seen it once before this?
Yeah, just the once. And it just stuck with me. I don't know why.
I also had only seen this once, and it was right when it came out. So back in 2006. So we're looking at almost 20 years since we've watched this movie.
It was probably me saying like, "Hey, weren't we sharing an apartment at the time?" I probably came home and was just like, "Natalie, we gotta watch this movie. Or you need to watch this right now. Stop
I
what you're
don't,
doing."
I think it was before that. I think that was before we were roommates.
Oh, geez. Um, well, I'm ready to hop into this movie. How about you?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So we are introduced to Milo Ventimiglia.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm gonna fuck up that name. I'm
A
sorry,
young,
but
young version of
very young.
him.
Who is playing Loomis Crowley?
Mhm.
Um, who is living in his family's house, but maybe his family isn't there. I don't really understand,
Yeah,
but whatever. He's
it's a
there
big
with
house.
his, yeah, real big house. Him with his roommate Rex and Rex's girlfriend
Hmm.
Sarah. Yes,
Yeah,
Sarah.
that sounds right.
So this opening game footage is I keep wanting to say Billy, but his name's Loomis. Um,
Because
Loomis is
Billy Loomis.
Loomis is playing this video game called Stay Alive, and he's walking through, the game actually kind of looks fun. I would play it, right?
Oh yeah, this is totally a game that we would play. The graphics I don't know that the graphics really look like they did at the time, but it's been so long since I played a game from 2006, but it looks very Resident Evil.
It's kind of just like walking through a haunted house. You have all of the like recycled clips of like, screams and
Hmm.
banging doors, and you see like shadows in like the mirrors and shit.
Yeah.
And basically his character dies, getting pushed off a balcony and hung. And then it's like,
By
game
like
over, you're
chain.
done. Yeah. So you've got fucking not Billy, Loomis is his name. Um, he's friends with Hutch. I'm gonna really
Yeah,
nail this down. Hutch
you're
is
gonna
the
do
main
great.
character. We're gonna get there, but
Yeah.
he calls Hutch. He's like, bro, you gotta come over. You gotta play this game. I guess he's testing it, but he doesn't say
Hmm.
that really like out loud, but he's a
Yeah,
game tester and testing
you
this
probably
game
should
called Stay
have.
Alive. Yeah. And you should come over. But Hutch is like, nah, man, I gotta work doing
Hmm.
my job. I'm not exactly sure what that is, but we'll get there too.
Yeah.
And but I'm gonna come over later, some other day or
Hmm.
on the weekend. Um, he hears a noise from Rex's room.
Uh-huh.
Okay, what's up with this? Was this
This,
necessary? He opens the
this,
door. First of all, doesn't knock, opens the door to his roommate's room, which I'm like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? And finds his roommate Rex having sex with Sarah, but like
uh-huh.
while wearing this like not even good, just a real, just fucked up,
Real
rudimentary
nasty looking pig
pig mask.
mask. I-
She calls
So,
him a perv.
so many things. There's so many things. One, always knock when
Always knock.
you live with roommates, but also like if y'all are getting real freaky, like wearing pig masks and shit, like maybe we lock the door, you know? Maybe we lock it. Also, they're so casual, like how all three of them react to the situation. He's like, "Hey man,
Yeah,
don't you knock?" Like literally like deep in it.
yeah,
And she's like, "Yeah, perv." And he's just like, "Oh yeah, I saw you guys died in the game really bad." And I'm like, "No, the conversation doesn't begin. It ends with you should have knocked and then you leave
yeah.
because what's going on in there is real freaky and real weird."
But instead, they go, we haven't played the game in hours, bro. What are you
Yeah.
talking about? While he's still like it possibly like inside her,
He's definitely still inside
with the
her.
pig mask like just sitting on top of his head. And he's like, "Can I get back to this, please?" Um,
We're busy.
so Loomis is like, "Okay, well, aw
Talk
shucks,
to
I'm
you
gonna go to
later.
bed. Yeah, talk to you later, guys." So he goes to bed, and then is awoken by noises.
Mhm.
Um, he goes through the house, sees some shadows, throws a glass of milk at one. Thinks he's being chased, uh, which we're presuming is the ghost of Elizabeth Bathory. He runs upstairs. I think then he knocks on the door. I forget, or does he just barge right in again into Rex's room to find them both dead?
He barges in. Yeah.
Yeah, so he didn't learn the first
Ready to
time,
see
but
some more fucking.
yeah, just back. What are you doing? Stop it! Um, yeah. So they're dead. There's fucking just blood strewn all over the place.
Yeah, I couldn't
Um,
even tell what was going on in there. It was so bloody.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
they do the shots so quickly, which I'm sure it's
Yeah,
got to be the PG-13 limitation. Like you can only get flashes of what's going on, so
for
it's
sure.
kind of disorienting anyway. But
Yeah.
this causes Loomis to backpedal, hit the balcony railing over the stairs.
Mhm.
Something grabs him by the throat, pulls him over, and then he falls to his death hanging.
Same as his
St-
character in the game.
Same as his character in the game.
Mhm. There's
Okay.
a lot of like interesting sound work in this opening
Mm.
scene. Like when I say interesting, I don't mean like good interesting. Like it's confusing interesting because you hear these it almost like vibration sounds or like it sounds like it's coming from the vents, but you really can't tell if it's the the music or the score of the movie or if it sounds that Loomis is supposed to be hearing. that bothered me a little bit. I'm assuming there are sounds he's supposed to be hearing based off of what happens later in the movie, but when I was watching it, I couldn't figure out who is supposed to be hearing these sounds.
Yeah, it is not a very threatening or ominous or spooky sound of just
Mm-mm.
hearing essentially controller vibration. It's like,
Which
y'all,
we've all heard.
we've had rumble packs for however long.
Yeah.
Um, it's and that's supposed to be this ominous this ominous thing
Yeah.
is this controller rumble sound or
Yeah.
like a yeah, I don't know, some
It
sort of
does.
vibrating device.
What I will give them credit for, though, if I hear that sound, I do think like, oh shit, I need to grab the controller. Like something's happening in my game. So that's the just the response that it
Hmm.
triggers when I hear that sound. But I don't know that it works effectively for like a scare.
So the next day we see Hutch and he is at his work. Um, he's got to do the marina thing,
Do
and
you
get that
do you want to
done.
hear my guess for what he does?
Sure.
Okay, so I think he works at a law firm, but he is not a lawyer. He's like a clerk or an assistant for lawyers.
He does mention clerking, which I've never heard in that phrasing.
I don't know that I have either, but clearly you've got what's his name, Miller. He he is a lawyer and he's assisting him. To which I'm like, do lawyers have time to game?
Guess so, maybe. I mean, it's a good hobby to have, you know. Let the steam off, I suppose.
Yeah, but like
But
they like work, work, work all the time.
well, I mean, only if we reinforce those expectations, you know what I mean? Like maybe if we just start phrasing self-care or framing, things around through the lens of self-care, I don't know. But so he's clerking, and he's not very good at it, but what he
No.
is good at is video games.
Yep.
And maybe specifically horror video games,
Yeah.
but that like talent and skill set and knowledge like never really comes up again and never really becomes useful again.
Yeah, that is
Outside of
interesting.
him, I guess, playing the game, but even then, it's mostly Frankie Muniz playing this game at the end. So
Yeah, no
it's
one really
never really
plays
goes
this game
anywhere.
for very long.
I was expecting him to say at some point, like, oh my gosh, here are video game horror tropes you should look out for.
It's
Here's
something. Yeah.
like, let me lead the way because, I am by far the most experienced gamer of this group,
Yeah.
you know. So the only reason he has this job is that he is good at video games and basically provides tips to his
Hmm.
boss, Miller,
Yeah.
who's currently playing Silent Hill 4.
Yes.
Um, he comes in asking for the day off. I wonder what he needed the day off for, but I wonder if he ever got
Duh.
to do that.
Probably not. All his friends fucking died.
Yeah, so he was, I guess, gonna
Plans
go on
canceled.
some vacation, do a little self-care for himself,
Yeah.
right? But he gets the call that Loomis is dead.
Hmm.
So this is where we go to Loomis's funeral. He meets Abigail here, who
Hmm.
claims that she is Sarah's friend from Georgia. Remember Sarah's the
Hmm.
girlfriend that was having sex
Yes.
with the pig mask man. Uh,
Yes. And and apparently is our funeral photographer.
yeah, just shows up and just, yeah.
Like, what? What?
Here I thought I'd be taking pictures at her wedding. Not, I don't know.
Now I'm taking pictures of her at her funeral. And it's like, no, you shouldn't be taking pictures at anybody's funeral.
I might sound dumb because I don't know this, but like, is photographing a funeral a thing? Like it is, do you hire somebody to take photographs during a funeral?
No, I don't think that if people have done that, it has been a real fucking long time because I've never heard of that shit. Unless maybe you're a celebrity and then paparazzi's being assholes taking a picture. or taking pictures disrespectfully.
Yeah. And just be like, oh yeah, don't worry, I knew her. Let me just take pictures of people.
Yeah, let me
But
take pictures of people and then immediately give you my number. Like then she's like trying to hit on him at this funeral too.
which I'm like,
Like
oh,
a
I
real
guess shoot
class
your
act.
shot, I suppose.
Yeah.
Um, we also see Loomis's sister, Emma, who's only there for just a moment, just to give
Mhm.
Hutch Loomis's bag filled with, I guess, his video games, other paraphernalia, but really the video games.
Yeah.
As well as, I forget to bring this up, this lighter that,
Yeah, that is very relevant.
yeah, for some reason, well, it's very irrelevant despite how
Yeah.
much the movie tries to tell you it is.
Yeah.
Um, I guess other than, you needed to light something on fire, so sure. But you've got Chekhov's lighter,
Mhm.
which originally Loomis had when he was walking around being hunted by a ghost. Now that ends up in Hutch's possession. But the thing with Hutch, we're going to find out, Fire and him do not get along.
No.
So now he's got this bag of video games, one of which is Stay Alive. So this is when we're introduced to, geez, the names of these characters. I mean,
I
it's
know.
fun, I guess, but they feel very much like
I'm like,
cartoon character names,
are
you know?
they their like gamer names? Like what they like use online? Or are these their real names? Like Phineas?
I think those are their real names. So I mean, like Hutch is not the worst one, and then Abigail, of course, is fine. But
Hmm.
you have Phineas and his sister October.
I like
Um,
October. I think that's kind of fun. Maybe it's because we're obsessed with Halloween, but
I suppose so. Do you have any choice to not be a goth girl if your name's October,
no, you have to be a goth girl.
right? Or because I would feel like that would be a little too expected, I suppose. But I guess
Yeah.
I don't know. So now, and then you have Swink, which we'll introduce ourselves to in a minute here, played by Frankie Muniz. Um, Now, I don't know if Finn and October own this establishment that they're at, or if
Yeah.
they just happen to work there. I mean, they're allowed to be there when, you know, in non-opening hours and they get their whole kind of run of the place. So you think that they might own this?
It seems like they own it or their parents own it, maybe.
So to anyone younger than us that's listening to this, um, so they have like a LAN cafe or an internet cafe, which have you ever been in one of these before?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, so this one is actually a very nice
That
version
oh,
of what this is.
that is not what they look like, the ones I've been to and seen.
This looks like half like cute little French bistro.
Yeah.
Um, and then with, some really nice, very clean, not taco grease covered computers
Yeah.
in the back, like with like velvet walls and shit and
Mhm.
nice, drapes, and everyone just gets to play their video games.
Yep.
Um, I assume you're insinuating probably your then boyfriend, now husband, probably
Yeah.
dragged you into one of these places before.
Yep. I think twice. And then I was like, you know what? I'm never going to come to one of these places ever again because they stink. And like you said, everything is like covered in a layer of grease.
Yeah. Um, yeah, the place I went to was called Landworks that
I've
was
been
in
there.
Temecula, California.
Yeah.
There was another one up the road. It was pretty bold to have two LAN cafes like on the same street in the same small town.
Very
So
competitive.
very competitive. And I remember me and I must have told this story. There was a Mexican place right next door, and we'd get taquitos. I was the one with the taco grease fingers. It was
Oh,
me.
gross. It was you.
You know, you just the floodgates have already been opened.
Did
What's an
they let
extra
you
drop of
bring
water?
food? Did they let you bring food in there?
Yeah,
That's insane. They should not be letting food near those computers with teenagers. Uh-uh.
they were insane for like selling Cheetos. because they had a small little snack bar, but it was like, Gatorade and Rockstar and Cheetos.
That's bold.
So yeah, we would get rolled tacos and just go over and play Call of Duty or probably maybe it was Battlefield. I think it was Battlefield.
Hmm.
So but and then there's internet cafes that I don't know, they're still more common like in Europe. I remember when I was on my honeymoon and dipping into one, maybe that was also a laundromat.
Hmm.
So, because I always try to pack light on laundry if I know that there's like an opportunity to do laundry like mid trip.
That's interesting. I don't want to be doing laundry on a trip.
Yeah, I just don't want to be like just accumulating dirty clothes all the time. And I feel like I get like a nice like reset and
Yeah,
feel
I guess
nicer,
that's
a little more
true.
fresher, especially when it's like on a long trip.
Sure.
Yeah, bring like 2 to 3 weeks worth of clothes.
Hmm.
That's a
So
lot.
you were the person doing laundry in the motel in Identity.
Yeah.
It was you.
Yeah. And then I'd be the one pissed off because I'd have like the mildewy ass clothes.
Fucking John Cusack just disregarded.
Yeah, I know. Fucking asshole.
Listen to our episode on Identity.
So those places exist, and that's where
They
people
exist.
would go to eat Cheetos and play PC games with their friends.
Mhm.
Because,
They really don't make it like a thing though, like bringing up the land cafe and
yeah,
like it's very much just in the background, which I thought was kind of interesting.
and PC gaming was still a little more boutique, I think, than it is now. I think there's a lot more
Yeah, probably.
people playing PC gaming
Hmm.
than maybe then. So,
It
whereas
wasn't
like
as like celebrated and cool as it is now.
I just wanted to just give that
That
give
history
that
for
give
the
that primer.
youngins.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, we're introing October and Phineas here. Phineas is just a real just piece of work.
Ugh,
He's
he's so
obnoxious
obnoxious. Yeah,
uh,
like
until his last breath.
yeah, he
So
feels like he's just talking at no one. Like he's just talking at people, not to people all the time.
uh, yeah, he's obnoxious. Um, so they're looking through this bag. They find, like a photo album. So you've got some pictures of Loomis and Hutch. You find the lighter, right? And then
Hmm.
I think this is when we get this first flashback of something traumatic that happened to
Yeah,
Hutch when he was a
definitely a
kid.
fire.
So fire is not it was like fire, and then like the second shot was like a quick like NES controller. So he was like,
That's not till later. They don't show that like the NES controller melting. Like it's like fire, his parents screaming, him like huddled in a corner, and then his poor NES controller just melting.
I don't know if it's anything like a Game Boy, those things can survive. Do you know that story about the Game Boy that like survived through like I forget what war it was. And
What?
it's this like melted, charred fucking thing, but that still fucking runs Tetris like a dream.
That's insane.
Look it up. It's pretty fun. They might still have it there, but at the Nintendo store in New York. I mean, you don't have to go to New
Wow.
York to
Yeah,
find
just to
it,
see
but
it.
just look online. So Finn also finds this game, Stay Alive. It doesn't even have like an actual like cover or anything on it. It's
Hmm.
just like, written on a piece
Very
of
much
paper and pen,
bootleg looking.
bootleg thing. And he decides that we need to play this game specifically, and that's how we're going to honor Loomis, I guess.
Hmm.
I think it's also shared that it was the last thing he was playing before he died,
Yeah,
right? Because
because
he
he had shared
wanted Hutch
that
to come
with
over,
Hutch.
right?
Yeah.
So the plan is to all convene at his apartment and play this game. So back at his apartment, we're introduced to Swink here. He's the last of the group, played by Frankie Muniz, who's this kind of like weird, like I don't get his
It's
energy.
like he almost feels like two different characters from the beginning of the movie and then the end of the movie because he's like really hyper and just kind of spits out information and facts about things like really rapidly. But then later on in the movie, he's a little bit more calm, cool, and collected and focused. So
Yeah.
he feels like two different characters.
I like that he name drops G4. Um, y'all, that was a whole television channel just dedicated to video game
Mm.
stuff. It was like
Yeah.
MTV for video games, kind of,
Yeah.
essentially,
Yeah.
because you'd
Yeah.
have like versions of VJs, you know.
Yeah.
But so they fire up the game. So you've got, let's see, who's all there. Basically, you've got October, Finn, Hutch, Swank,
Swink.
Abigail, who he's like, oh, by the way, here's a creepy girl I met at the graveyard. I
Yeah.
decided to have her come.
Just bring her bring her here.
Her whole vibe is so weird. It feels like she is very tired. And then
She
also like has it's weird and it's unintentional, but she like also slips into this like when she's tired, she's like very raspy, but since she's like very
hmm
pale, has the dark eyeliner and the lighter blonde hair, it's like almost she almost slips into like adjacent to Jennifer Tilly a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that.
Get slight
She
hints of there. I don't know.
her character is so off-putting to me and just like merges herself into this group so rapidly. I kind of was like, oh, is there a twist where she's like a villain? I like she had like planted this with them or something. I thought that maybe something like that would happen just because she seemed so out of place and so immediately attached to these people.
Yeah, I remember thinking that like, oh, maybe this is Bathory, who's, like, and then the
Yes.
twist would be like, y'all, it was too late from the very beginning. Y'all were fucked, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And then kind of like how in Dead Silence, where
hmm
Mary Shaw like is the stepmom, so
hmm
she's already taken kind of like a real life human form.
Spoiler alert.
Sorry, that's a good one. What a fucking good
It
one.
is. Yeah.
Maybe was it the same year? I don't know. Around the same year.
Around the same time.
So it's all of them at this apartment. And then I get why you would, be nice to your boss and give him, your video game tips and this and this and this.
hmm
But why would you like volunteer him to join you remotely to play this game with you?
Yeah, at that
Are they
point,
friends?
maybe they're a little bit friends, but maybe he figures if he includes him in things, he'll give him more of an easy ride at work, more days
So
off.
sad. I guess so. I also don't understand exactly how are they running this all off one copy of the game?
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but typically games like this, these like survival horror games, or at least at that time, like they were not like multiplayer online situations.
No, usually horror games kind of focused on the isolation. I think the only multiplayer horror
Yeah.
games I can think of are like those like rail shooters, like House of the Dead, things like that.
Yeah, but and that's a little bit different. But this is very much they're playing online together. They can find each other's dead bodies and encounter each other in the game. So you're right. Like how is he playing from the law office when they have this one copy of this game?
Depending on the game, sure, like you can. I mean, even now the technology isn't very good where you can like share a game by streaming it to someone else's situation, depending on the game, and have them
Yeah.
join as like a second player, maybe. Or there's games like my wife and I are playing a game right now called Split Fiction, which is it's two-player only, but like you have to do it with two people. I think so. But you like I buy a copy of the game and then she downloads like a buddy copy, which is free, but it's so
Okay.
she can log on to mine. Um, even though we're both sitting in the same room as we do this. But
Yeah.
it's so I mean, I don't know, but I don't think that technology really existed that easily then. But those things, there's going to be a lot we can poke holes in.
Yeah, I was just more curious, like did games like this even exist at this
No,
time? Yeah.
we'd be playing them if it did,
Yeah. Yeah. That was
right?
my thought exactly. Like I was definitely putting in a lot of hours on Resident Evil 4 just solo.
Yeah. Well, it's the isolation part of it, right?
Yeah, that's what
You
makes it
know,
scary.
100%. So, they fire it up and it starts with this poem, for them to recite, and they
Yes.
all have to do it together. And
And Abigail somehow knows that. That was the other reason why I was like, she's like, oh, like maybe you have to say it out loud. And I was like, bitch, how do you know that? Did you make this evil game? Was it you?
100%.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Would have
She's,
been a fun twist.
I think so. Or because I don't think the movie was necessarily trying to make her a red herring at all. Like maybe that
No.
would have been a little clever, but
Yeah.
no, nothing. So, um, they recite this poem about Elizabeth Bathory, and I don't know how much you know about Elizabeth Bathory, but despite October saying that it's all fact, everything she says is just very incorrect.
Is it like according to their legend?
Yeah, like Elizabeth Bathory is one Hungarian,
Oh,
two,
is she a real person?
yeah, Elizabeth Bathory is a real
Oh,
person,
I
the
did not know
Countess.
that. Yeah, I had no idea.
So she was a Hungarian countess who allegedly murdered upwards of 600 to 700 people.
Oh,
Um, the way the legend goes, well, she was murdering peasants mostly, um, which unfortunately, I don't know how much the police or any
like if anybody gave a
people,
shit.
yeah, unfortunately. Um, And then the idea also was that she was killing young people. She did not want to age and would do rituals to keep herself younger, part of which being bathing in the blood of the young.
Oh, well, clearly she's not the villain.
So, no, she does not
Right,
have a
just trying to stay
plantation.
youthful.
No, she doesn't have an army of ghost children. And no, she doesn't have a pair of like magical like scissors. Like it's like in Silent Hill. Didn't someone have those scissors?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like they took like little things from different popular games and incorporated them into this Stay Alive.
That's strange that they use Elizabeth Bathory. It could have just been anybody.
They
Like
could have
just
just
change the
made up a
name.
story. Like to me, I had no idea that I didn't even know she existed. So see, I learned something. I learned something from history from this movie.
So this movie is essentially about a Hungarian serial killer who bathes in blood. However, this movie does not take place in Hungary, and
Hmm.
because it's PG-13 is largely bloodless.
Yeah.
So why? Again, like why use
Hmm.
this character? Why pull from someone real? Um, Whatever though.
Interesting choice.
The other thing is this idea that roses um ward off spirits and malicious entities.
Well, I thought that was just part of the game specifically.
Well, I wasn't sure if it was just that. Well, maybe I guess part of the game. 'Cause I don't remember how it comes up in any like tutorial or whatever, but like October, because she's the witchy one,
Hmm.
um, always happens to be like, oh, well, don't you remember? Grandma told us this story that like was batshit crazy because that's not the story of
Yeah.
Elizabeth Bathory. And so I don't know who the fuck you were thinking of, Grandma. But and then also like, oh, here, I've got my witch book, and this is how, the whole three nails and set on fire thing,
Hmm.
which seems more like a witch thing, not a
Yeah.
ghost demon spirit situation. I don't know.
I mean, they kind of are playing it like Elizabeth Bathory is a witch in this.
Hmm. So they're into this game. To be honest, like I said, it looks pretty fun, especially like when
Yeah.
they're going through the graveyard and everyone's like shooting at
Hmm.
there was a game that it just reminded me of a game that was supposed to be really good, but it wasn't. It came out last year. Um Fuck, I don't remember. It's called Redfall.
Oh, I didn't play it.
It's like a multiplayer horror game. Also Left 4 Dead. That's a popular multiplayer horror
Mm-hmm.
game, right?
Okay, yeah, you're right.
So, but it's very much like Left 4 Dead, where it's like you're multiple people and you're hunting vampires.
Hmm.
Um, but it just, yeah, just didn't, the concept, if maybe they flew too close to the sun,
Yeah.
especially bad if you're a vampire.
Yeah.
So just didn't work. So everyone decides to log off, though not before Miller's character makes his way into the catacombs and finds the torture chamber for Elizabeth
Hmm.
Bathory. Um, then his character, by the time he figured out what's going on, he gets stabbed to death and his character dies in the video game.
Right in the
Yeah,
neck with the big ass scissors.
with the big ass scissors. And they're
Hmm.
like, "What killed you?" And he's like, "I don't know. Maybe it was the ghost of that woman. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Whatever." So everyone's like, "All right, well, we did
We
all we
played for
could."
5 minutes.
Dude, he brought everybody over and got that whole setup together in his
That's,
living room and
that's what
played for
I'm
5
saying.
minutes. Y'all didn't even like just take like a pizza break and come back. Get the
I
fuck out of here.
My note literally says this whole setup for 5 minutes of gameplay
Yeah.
because your boss died in the game. That's like your best case scenario because then you'd be like, oh, talk to you later. Glad you
Yeah.
came. Now we can all actually do this.
So everyone decides to log off and go home. And then this is where we jump over to Miller, who is alone in his office building. Um,
Mhm.
he starts getting ready to leave, and then is hearing noises coming back from his office.
Mhm.
So you have this whole kind of back and forth thing where he's like turning corners. You see shadows and
I
maybe
do
some other
like the
screams and
be,
rumbles.
before they start showing the direct shots of like the woman and all the little children and things. I do like the shadow work and like the woman Elizabeth Bathory like showing up in the background, like just her silhouette or like just a glimpse of her. I did think that was probably one of the more effective creepy moments in the
Mm.
movie.
He hears the controller vibrating from his office at his desk,
I don't know.
turns around, lures him back in. Bad idea, my guy.
Hmm.
So he finds it's his controller. He picks it up. It was on the ground. He looks
Yeah.
up. Bam, there's Elizabeth Bathory. Stab, stab, stab. He's done. He's dead.
Yep.
Goodbye, Miller.
RP.
Yeah. So let's see. So next day at the office, ugh, Hutch goes and finds that it is a crime scene.
Uh-oh.
Oof. And he looks dead as fuck on his on laying out on his desk.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. This is also where we are introduced to the detectives, Thibodeau and the other one. Um, Wendell Pierce, he plays Thibodeau, and he's in a number of things too.
Mhm.
So I think like The Wire. So
Yeah.
um so they interrogate Hutch and like pretty like immediately, just like Wahlberg in Dead Silence. He's like, yeah, I'm pretty
Did you
sure
do this?
you're the
Yeah.
prime suspect. Yeah,
Yeah.
did you
You
do this?
seems weird that four people who knew you just died out of the blue.
And you just happen to be the last person to talk to all of them.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, he says I
Thank you
just
for
talked to
volunteering
him.
that.
He said I just talked to him last night and they were like, "What? What'd you say?"
Yeah, I wouldn't say shit.
I would be like, "I've never met this man in my life."
Yeah. So back at the internet cafe, Finn has booted up the game and finds that Miller is dead in the same way
Hmm.
that they found his body in real life.
Hmm.
Um, Everyone's back there convened. He still wants to play the game.
Yeah, he's like, "Fuck it, let's play."
Everyone just thinks he's being an asshole, which he is.
He
And
is.
I I forgot to bring up a couple things that Finn says um, as far as fucking slut shaming his sister.
Oh yeah,
Something
he's
about
really mean to his sister.
Abigail and body karate.
Oh, I don't
I don't know
know.
what that means. Like she's fit to be good at karate, maybe. I don't
Maybe. I
know.
don't know. He definitely is like trying to like flirt or like hit on her a little bit, even though clearly she's like totally trying to get with Hutch. I like that he calls her mama twice. He says, "What's
Mm,
up, mama?"
I don't, but
I love it. I love it because I like the way that she responds to it, just like, "Hey, what's up?"
him and Swink, unfortunately, this is, a 2000s movie. Both use homophobic slurs a couple
It
times
it
throughout
wouldn't
this.
be a movie from 2000, what, like 2000 to 2010, where like one character at least has to either say something is gay in a negative way or they have to use the F word. Like it's just always a thing. And I
It's awful.
guess, yeah, I mean, I guess that's actually how it was too in
Eh,
in real life.
they leave to, they're like, fuck you, Finn. We're gonna go separate ourselves from this.
Hmm.
Um, maybe they go back to Hutch's apartment. I couldn't tell where they were. I think so. Or somewhere
Yeah.
else. But they start talking, and Hutch is like, I don't know. Everyone's dying how they die in the game. The game has to be involved somehow.
Hmm.
But no one's really buying it.
Yeah. My assumption would be like maybe there's some like creepy weirdo that is on the game, like watching them play it. And then when someone dies, he's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna go after that person." You know, that would be my logical explanation.
I think that would have been so much better. Like one character that you just always assume was like an NPC that
Hmm.
turns out, no, it was some dude playing him
Oh
the whole
yeah,
time.
that's
And
fun.
then in turn playing you.
Oh.
It it writes itself, Natalie. They've been
We
talking allegedly about there might even be a sequel to this movie. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I think that
when was this being talked about?
like even a few years ago, and I'm like, really?
No.
I don't know. I think the guy's just really trying to keep that flame alive.
Yeah.
S stay
There's
alive.
And also all three of these people, the three survivors, are old enough that they could still be gaming, you know?
Hutch is like, shit, the game's got to be involved. Finn's playing the game, so they all run back to Finn. Um, but he's fine.
Yeah.
Um, and I think takes a pause in the game.
Hmm.
And then
And he
later
does
that
not die.
no,
Yeah.
or at least we never see him die in the game.
Mm-mm.
So again, it doesn't even really follow its own rules necessarily.
There are no rules, which is one of the major flaws of this game. Like if you actively were playing it, or if they found a way, if you stopped playing and all of a sudden weird stuff started happening to you until you started playing again to get you back to the computer, that would
Hmm,
make more sense to me than the game just being like, well, I'm just going to control your character and have you play while, you know, you're doing fucking whatever else you're doing. Maybe you're at work. Like,
yeah.
give them 8 hours.
It's like how like a Tamagotchi where it's like still living, even though when you're not like interacting with it.
I like that you managed to find a way to make the Tamagotchi creepy.
I don't think that's too much of a stretch.
Oh, I loved
Weird little
those. I
things.
had so many.
Um, I had the unfortunate, boy marketed one, the Digimon, where it was like a little dinosaur.
Oh,
And you
not
can make them fight because, it's for boys, right? You have to have some sort
oh.
of aggression
I had all of it. I
aspect
had the
mechanic built in.
Tamagotchis, the Giga Pets,
Hmm.
Giga Pet Farm. I had like multiples of them living in a whole fucking thing. It was excessive.
Sounds excessive, but it sounds like a lot of fun though.
It was.
Later that day, everyone just starts like seeing like shit in the mirror,
Hmm.
shadows and shit. Mirrors
Very
are
Final
breaking,
Destination.
computers are getting bloody, because they
Yeah.
can, I suppose. Um, Hutch is increasingly convinced that there's got to be some connection. So he's able to pull up all of these like detailed like crime scene reports and
Yeah,
photos.
where is he getting access to this information?
Like I would guess that maybe like stuff would get like leaked and some stuff, would be
It's
public
very
record.
specific.
Very usually very redacted stuff is public
Yeah.
record. And then or maybe if there's like X amount of time since the crime. Maybe it like becomes public domain or something. I don't know, but
This was yesterday and last week.
he looks like he's like on like a government database. Like, he's got the whole emblem and everything.
I
And
wonder if he has access to that through his law office job.
maybe.
Could be.
Sure.
Yeah.
So he's looking up all these crime scene photos and these reports about Loomis, and he discovers that everyone, so Rex, Sarah, Loomis, and Miller, all died in the same way that their characters die
Oh
in this
man.
game, Stay Alive. So he brings this up to everybody. Is trying to pitch this as like, hey, here's my
Yeah.
theory. I appreciate that like October gets back to him and she's like, yeah, but I think also Elizabeth Bathory is connected.
Yeah.
Because
Give me.
of this and this and this. To which Hutch is like, that's crazy. Whoa, 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 whoa.
He's
Slow
like,
your roll.
how? He says, how is this helping? I'm like, she is literally giving you a history lesson on this thing that is hunting you. An incorrect history lesson, apparently, but it's
I just like,
relevant to their situation.
but I just like, yeah, he just brings up how it's like, oh man, this video game is got to be cursed. And then she's like, yeah, maybe a witch is involved. And he's like, whoa, that's
He's
crazy.
like,
That's a little much.
crazy bitch, get out of here.
You sound insane. I think it literally
Yeah.
says that.
Yeah.
Um, Now, when they're having this conversation, he called everybody to be there to meet him. Swink, October, Abigail, I'm doing it,
Finn.
Hutch, and then Finn, who is
Hmm.
on his way, but his car breaks down.
Yeah.
Well, his car breaks down because he sees a little ghost girl in the
Yeah, he
road and he
almost
swerves off the road,
crashes. Yeah.
almost crashes, which,
Hmm.
he calls them and he's like, hey, can you come help me? Things are acting real weird. I'm starting to hear horses neigh in the distance.
And I am not near the farm.
Yeah. But he's like, I didn't die in the game, so I should be okay. And Bathory
Hmm.
allegedly only comes at night, which I don't remember that being a thing, but he
Yeah.
feels comfort in that, so sure.
Yeah.
Um, but then yeah, I guess a ghost carriage just shows up like out of nowhere. I would have liked to see it like coming towards him and him like
Yeah.
running away and try at least a little bit of that escape
Yeah. A
for a
little
little
bit of
bit,
a chase.
right? And but no, it just kind of pops up out of nowhere and then he just like gets hit and just like falls on the ground and is like head's all cracked open and stuff. You don't really
It
see it.
almost, it looks like when someone gets hit in a car in a movie and they're just mildly injured or like break something. Like it doesn't look like a death hit when he gets hit by
Yeah.
this carriage. But yeah, they also before he dies, I think what really bothers me is he says I didn't die in the game and he they don't show him die in the game to the audience either. So you don't see him dead in the game until after he's already dead in real life, which I found to be very confusing because we don't know that the game is just playing on its own yet at this point.
Yeah. Art imitating life, imitating art. Like Pirates of the Caribbean
Oh,
again. So the police arrive, their friends show up, but everyone's too late, of course. Finn is dead. Thankfully, to be honest, he
yeah,
was kind of outstaying
he would
his
have been
welcome.
annoying.
Yeah. The group tries to show the detectives how the game is connected. Um, but again, the detectives are like, here's yet another person who's friends with you that talked to you last, and you're here at a
Hmm.
crime scene again. So
Looking pretty sus.
I feel like that would be grounds to arrest him right there. I'm not sure.
I'm not
Police
sure
come up with all
either.
crazy ways to arrest somebody.
I'm
They,
not sure either, but we're dealing with a white man, number one, Kyle. So
true.
calm down. And number two, pencil.
Uh-huh.
But also, the detective mentions, he says, if I see you at another crime scene, I'm going to like bring you to the station. I'm going to bring you in. So that implies that he probably could have that time, but he still
Hmm.
didn't feel like he had enough.
So the detectives are like, yeah, if we see you at another crime scene, though, we're definitely going to have to take you in.
Yeah.
But we're going to go for now. So they leave. Thibodeau and his partner detective, they're all mean, aggressive one. Um, but before they leave, this partner manages to go over to Swank, who brought the laptop with the active game going.
Hmm.
They were sitting in the back of a hearse. Was that hearse?
No, it was an ambulance,
Was it an
like an
ambulance? It looked like
ambulance,
a
like or a
hearse.
police van.
Sure.
Yeah.
But this detective goes over, boots up the game, creates a character,
Yeah.
and then goes and
Swiftly.
swiftly and then starts playing some of the game, makes his way into the torture chamber where he has got like all the like just yeah, all the mouth torture stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then
Very fun
dies.
things.
Yeah.
The
October is
odd
upset. Oh,
the
sorry.
audacity though of them showing those cool like mouth torture like things, knowing that like we're not going to be able to see anything that those can do. This isn't
It's so
Saw.
it's so dumb.
Yeah.
So October is upset. She's blaming
Ugh.
Hutch now and being like, even if the video game is causing this, you're the one that brought the video game into our lives, which he was like, look, first of all, um, lady, I didn't know this game was in this fucking bag. This fucking girl in a graveyard
Yeah.
gave it to me. What was I supposed to do? This was literally the first place I came, and you all insisted on rooting through this bag.
Yeah.
And then it was your
Finn
dumbass
took it
fucking
out.
brother, yes, that pulled it out and said,
Yes.
let's play this. I said I was uncomfortable. He insisted anyway. He
Mm-hmm.
got him fucking self-killed. Do not
He
put
sure
this
did.
on me.
And honestly got most of the group killed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So she's upset, but she's like, look, but I'm also solution based. So here's my plan. Hutch, I need you to figure out as much about this game as fucking possible. Take this girl with you. Um, Swink and I are gonna hold back, and no one touches this fucking game
Yeah.
until we learn more.
Not a bad idea.
Yeah. So the second detective, the non-Thibodeau detective, I'm not gonna look up his name. Um, He goes to a video game store, ask like a GameStop kind of situation, asking about Stay Alive, but the clerk doesn't know what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Really unnecessary, honestly, because he just goes back to his truck and then you just see almost kind of like a blood balloon explosion inside. Um, he's dead. Okay.
Yeah.
Goodbye, detective.
We don't care
So
about him.
Hutch and Abigail go to Loomis's house, and then Swink and October stay at Hutch's apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Okay. Um, and then so while Hutch and Abigail are, breaking into Loomis's house, he's explaining basically his kind of backstory and why he doesn't like fire, basically saying that his dad thought that his mom was cheating on him, but she wasn't. So he really just dove into the furthest conclusion. Really, you should really not even really be considering, and
Mm-hmm.
decides, kind of if I can't have you, no one can, kind of Jeffrey
Mm-hmm.
Tambor situation, and then lights the whole house on fire and is like, I'm gonna kill my child as well. And just start over, I guess. So his dad is in prison and will be until he's like, nearly pushing 80.
Yeah.
His mother is dead, and Hutch is feeling guilty because he kind of froze in place, which I'm like, you're a child, huh? Don't
Yeah,
be so hard on yourself.
what did you think you were gonna do?
Yeah. So he was able to get rescued by, you know, the fire department, but the mom didn't survive the fire. So
Mm-hmm.
he's like, so this is why I don't like fire. Okay. So leave me
Yeah.
alone about it.
There's my backstory.
So they're back here.
Such an odd backstory.
Yeah. And then also maybe, yeah, video games somehow are kind of part of the trauma a little bit because you see that shot of the NES controller.
Or they're a comfort for him because of that.
Maybe if I were Nintendo, I'd be like, Nintendo has sued people for
Or
all
much
sorts
less.
of stupid shit. Yeah. I would think like, please do not include our console specifically with, make it a fucking put a Game Gear in there. Who cares? So put an Atari Lynx in there, something no one
Yeah,
cares about.
yeah,
Leave us out of this. We do not want our Mushroom Kingdom shenanigans to be connected in any way to this child's fire trauma.
yeah.
No, thank you.
Or this terrible movie.
Or this terrible movie. Yeah. So they go into Loomis's room, open up his computer, I guess, and then find a cell phone or something, some device like a like a BlackBerry, maybe
Oh, it's what were they called? Is it a sidekick?
a sidekick. Yeah, where like it's
Because
the
it's
slide
like
out.
horizontal and it, like pops up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
think
they
it's a
find a
sidekick.
sidekick and they find the address for this game developer.
Hmm.
So before I go forward, which version of this movie did you watch? Because there's some
Oh
very
no.
critical differences.
There's different versions of it?
Yeah. So there's an
Oh
unrated
shit.
director's cut that
What?
includes
They
a
took the time
whole
to do that?
it includes a whole ass other character of this game developer who they meet.
What? Did you watch that version?
No, I'm hoping you didn't
Okay, neither
either.
did I. Neither did I.
So if you all listening to this got the extended cut of this movie, we're going to need you to record a podcast episode for us to listen to.
Yes,
So if you
please
could do us
do.
a solid, you could be on it honorary co-hosts.
I had to rent this on Amazon.
They learn about this game developer,
Mhm.
um, but I don't. Yeah, so who knows if the address that they were going to was always going to be Bathory's house,
Hmm.
but yeah, who knows? I don't know. So we're gonna continue on, okay?
Yeah, perfect. I'm so glad we watched the same one.
Yeah. So while they find the address for this game developer, October calls, reading from her witchy book, and says, like, hey, here are the rules. We need to use three nails specifically, like shoulder, neck, and head or something, I forget,
Which seems to not work, but okay.
and set her on fire. I think you got to do all of them,
Oh, you
I
got to do
think.
all of it. Yeah, you're right.
But you're like, sure, okay. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't believe anything you say up until this point, so I'm not sure if I
Yeah.
believe like that's
He's
exactly the
like
tried and
that's
true method.
nonsense, obviously.
Yeah. But the way they say it with such conviction and such certainty, you're like, sure, okay, whatever
That's
gets
been that's been a common theme of a lot of the movies that we've talked about is people just kind of make up rules and are like, well, if this worked, then we can assume that that will work. And when it comes to supernatural shit, you cannot make assumptions. You just can't.
the cops start swarming Hutch's apartment where October and Swink are. And that's because, yeah, Thibodeau finds his partner real dead and is like,
Mm.
okay, last
That's fucking
straw.
it. Why did I not arrest him last time?
You know how much time and how much money it takes to to hire and train and do that whole process all over again. Come on. Y'all, like, yeah, he wasn't perfect, but he,
He
he was
was kind of a
harmless.
dick.
Yeah, he was kind of a dick, but I kept him at arm's length. Like, come on,
Yeah.
guys. That's fucking unfair. Why? So what's going on? But so they manage to escape and they reconvene back at Loomis's house, which they're just allowed just to like hole up for a while. It's
Yeah.
still a crime scene. They hadn't even cleaned it up.
Yeah.
All
And
the blood in the bedroom and shit.
isn't it like one of those things that cops always say that like what is there's an expression for it, like that the murderer will always go back to the scene of the crime.
Maybe.
So, not a great place for him to be.
No, I don't think so. So they realize that, they're like, I'm not playing the game. Are you playing the game? And they're like, no, no one was fucking playing. What's going on? The game is still going on
Ugh.
like a Tamagotchi. When you're gone, it still keeps playing itself. And now they're just like, they don't even know what the fucking rules are at this point. Like, I think even
I
Hutch is just
hate
like, I don't know. Maybe there's no fucking rules. I don't know.
I hate that the game plays by itself. That is probably one of my least favorite details of this situation. I really strongly feel like they could find a way to get them back onto the computer.
Animal Crossing does the same thing where the little world you create just keeps going on without you.
I don't like
So I so I'm afraid to ever take a break.
that.
Um, but then I did, and then now I'm even more afraid to go back
So
because
what happens when you take a break?
I mean, usually like just the weeds get kind of overgrown a little bit and everyone goes, "Where are you?" But I'm like afraid that I'll boot it back up. Like not even like
Like, do
this
your little
recent,
animals die?
I don't know.
You should
I think
check in
they'd
on
leave.
that.
I don't think anyone dies, but they'll be like, "Oh, I moved to a different island. Goodbye," whatever. But
You're
I'm not even talking
where the
about my
fuck were
recent
you?
Animal Crossing game, like the one on the Switch. I'm talking about my GameCube one from 20 something years ago. I'm afraid I'm going to boot that thing up and everyone's
Would it
just going to
still
be
be
dead.
going
I don't know. Maybe I'm
at
afraid
this
to
point?
check.
It would be like
I don't,
a wasteland.
yeah. I'm going to come back and it's like fucking Mad Max there. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what has happened? And they're like, where were you?
We've been looking everywhere.
You didn't, why didn't you just pay Tom Nook? Ah, because he's a landlord and fuck landlords. That's why. So,
Oh
oh
man.
well. Okay, so where are we? They realize that the game is being played without them. As they're debating all of this, October goes outside to have a cigarette, and really just does what you really shouldn't do in any horror property is if you hear a sound coming from
Hmm.
somewhere, especially if it's like, like an abandoned house or a
Yeah.
construction site, which in this case it's both.
Like, how
Um,
far away does she go? It seems like
yeah,
she like walks really far away because when they finally come after her, they're like running. Like they're like having a
yeah.
marathon run.
It made it seem like it was just across the street, but maybe to her it was. I don't know.
I have no idea.
Um, so she goes to investigate for some reason. Again, it's this house that's half built, so
Mhm.
there's some construction paraphernalia around. She grabs a hammer and some nails, and she's like, "Okay, maybe I'll just go ahead and just handle this myself." Which,
Yeah,
again, I gotta
girl.
get out of here. She manages to find Bathory, but she's a ghost, so nails aren't working. I do appreciate that she goes from the hammer and nails to just a nail gun because I'm like, yeah, just fucking do that.
Yeah,
I don't,
absolutely.
yeah, let technology work for you,
Yeah.
not against
We've
you.
seen
Come
how
on.
effective nail guns can be in the Final Destination franchise.
But these nails aren't working. She tries to run away, gets hung upside down. Bathory shows up, slits her throat. She's dead.
Mm.
So goodbye, October.
Yeah.
The others do manage to find her because they were hearing her scream.
Yeah.
But yeah, they get in too late. Sorry.
This is where they figure out that the game is playing on its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So really just kind of out of options at this point. You've got our three remaining survivors, Swink, Abigail, and Hutch. They're in Abigail's van and they're going to go to this address to hopefully find this game developer and get some answers.
Mhm.
Um, if you needed any unwanted, unsolicited
I knew it.
answers, um, Abigail is just like, oh, hey, by the way, a lot of my backstory stuff, I made that up. I live
Yeah.
in this van. Turns
Yeah.
out that funeral photography is just not,
It's
uh,
not booming. It's not a
it's
booming
just
business.
not booming one bit. It is,
Wh-
I really misread the market.
What was the point of them even bringing up this backstory of hers?
It doesn't even matter because she brings it up and they don't care. They're just like, okay, well,
Like,
everyone's dead. So I don't
This
know.
movie without the credits is an hour and 18 minutes.
Yeah.
So were they just trying to just be like, damn, we got to push it at least to over an hour and 15. Let's just have her tell a story about how she lives in this van and how embarrassed she is about it.
Yeah. But no one really cares.
No one gives a shit about
Um,
Abigail.
so they make their way to this address, and this house, and maybe not just yet, but they're gonna realize that, oh shit, this address where this game was made, allegedly. Um, so was Bathory herself? Did she learn game design and make
I
this
don't
game?
I don't think it was her that designed it.
Well, there is
She's
another person, but it's from the extended cut. So we're supposed to watch this thinking, who knows? We never find
Yeah,
out who
it's
this
like
developer is.
a question mark. I wonder if putting the developer in the movie just took away too much of the mystery. So they wanted to take that out.
I guess so. But I mean, they were thinking like, man, we're already in an hour 18. That's a little long. I don't think we need to add this whole other part.
It's
Do
we
you think
should
people are going to
probably
want to sit for
we
another
should probably
5 minutes
cut
of this
this.
movie?
Yeah. I'm assuming he dies.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll watch it at some point.
That would that have been an extra death? Well,
Yeah.
we're gonna watch this movie again.
And then I guess he wouldn't play test it, right? And then why would he? I
If
don't
he's the
know. I
game developer, he wouldn't have to like play it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean a chef, tastes some of his own work,
But
right?
that's what I'm
That's
saying.
why it's
Like
why a
he would
baker's
had to have
dozen.
played it.
Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know, whatever. But either way, we don't get any of that in this. But
Mm-mm.
so they are at this house, they're at this plantation. I don't know why it takes them a while to put two and two together. Um, but Hutch and Abigail go inside to investigate. Swink stays back in the van and is like, hey, look, if this game is going to be going on with us playing or not, I feel like I at least have a little more autonomy if I and can have a little more control over what's going on if at least one of us is playing this game to at least be a distraction.
I agree with wanting to have more autonomy because you feel like you're more in control while you're playing, but he really frames it like he's like a decoy or a distraction for the game while they're going on their little real life side quest. And it it feels I wouldn't want to be that person just because this game is so unfair. Anything could just pop up and kill you at any moment. Like it has no rules. So I definitely would not want to play decoy.
But I mean, yeah, I hear you. I feel like I would probably volunteer to be that guy. Just to be like, well, look, I
Thank
mean,
goodness.
if
Now at least I know what to do if we're in this situation.
yeah, I'm like, if I'm gonna die anyway, like I feel like me having a little more control would prolong because otherwise, like, what is my character just standing there like an asshole doing nothing the whole time, just
It
getting
seems like
attacked?
they no, it seems like they are like walking around.
Hmm,
Like they're actually doing some sort of actions, but I'm glad to know that you would play decoy. So if I do end up in a pickle and a situation like this happens, I'm gonna be like, "Hey Kyle, why don't you check this new game out that
I
I
got you.
found?"
So let's see. Hutch and Abigail are in the house. They split up to cover ground. She,
Why?
finds some. Why? I don't know.
Fucking why?
She finds some dolls, some pictures of eyes.
Some
Um,
dolls with maggots in them.
yeah,
I don't know why maggots would be in the dolls.
the spooky scissors
Hmm.
and a diary, which we learn is Bathory's diary.
Hmm.
And then also like some newspaper clippings like about Elizabeth Bathory. So it's like, does she
Yeah.
just like collect newspaper clippings like about herself
Well, if that was
as a
the
ghost?
address where the game was developed, supposedly, could that
Yeah,
have been like maybe the game developer was chilling in there for inspiration and like use the actual layout to design the game? So, because it's obviously no one's living there.
If they thought me knowing any of that was important enough, I think they would have included it in the theatrical version.
I'm sure. Yeah, but
So,
that's just me trying to give the movie a little bit more depth.
well, I'm sure fucking what's his face, William Brent Bell would is appreciating you for that. So,
I hope so.
um, and then Hutch is led out back to the backyard, and then through there, some iron gates where they're at the graveyard that's in the back there,
Hmm.
being led by Swink, who
Yeah.
is kind of guiding him through the game.
Hmm.
So,
They don't really ever share because he's just like, how do you know this? And he's like, don't worry about that. And
oh yeah, I like how he withholds information from him. I'm like, yeah, that's
yeah,
helpful at this juncture, sure.
because he doesn't even realize that Swink is walking through the game as his character, which is clearly where Hutch is until he makes it out through that back gate and you can see that giant like graveyard of like mausoleums in the tower.
Yeah, which somehow they would not have seen that giant ass fucking tower.
Yeah, it's so large.
Where's the nearest neighbor? It's not like they're even like, it's like super heavily forested around. I mean, I guess a little bit, but I don't know. Um, Meanwhile, back at the house, Abigail gets attacked. Hutch runs back inside the house. This is where we also learn that Swink through the game can like drop items that end
I
up in
do
real
like
life.
that.
Yeah, it's
I
okay.
I think that's probably one of my favorite things that they obviously don't have any rules for, but I think is fun is that he can like unlock the door because he has a key or like give him items and he can navigate through the space. I think that's a fun part of this, but they still don't play it that fun. Like
No.
they just don't know how to use it.
Yeah, this game is largely, or sorry, this movie is, you're right, largely unfun, which,
Yeah, for it's like such a fun premise.
so Game Swink and Real Hutch arrive in time to find Abigail, who is being held down by a couple ghost girls and cornered by Bathory. Swink throws some roses because, that's how you do it. And Bathory vanishes. They're able to save Abigail.
Hmm.
Now back at the van where Real Swink is, Bathory's been fucking with him. He sees shadows
Yeah.
and shit. And he's like, hold on, what the fuck? I'm playing the game. I'm not dead. You can't try
He
this shit
also
with
like
me.
left the game behind for a second there, was just walking around on his cell phone like an idiot.
Yeah. So he basically just decides to bail and just starts running. Um, he's chased down by the ghost carriage. He's able to, dive out of the way. And then you think he dies, but he falls into a bed of roses, which we know, a very convenient bed of roses
Yeah,
in this nondescript part, like on the side of the road. He's able to fall on top of that while Bathory is approaching him. But you're led to believe that he is dead because when Hutch and Abigail come back to the van, they see the game over with Frankie Muniz's avatar like lying there in the bed of roses dead.
which couple things here.
Sure.
I assumed that him falling into a bed of roses would be a safe space because the roses can be used to deter the spirits.
Which it is ultimately
Yeah, but also if he's still alive, why does it say game over on his screen over his character's dead body?
because this movie is dumb.
Yeah,
That's why.
well, and that's what I'm saying. I was like, what? They didn't even have to show that to us for like, because then it would have just been like, we found his body. Okay, he's dead. Great. Yeah,
Yeah. So, and then him still being alive doesn't really
it doesn't make
give anything, add anything to the movie,
sense. Mm-mm.
this twist of like, oh, he's still alive and he kind of saves the day. I
Hmm.
don't know. So let's see. At this van, Abigail and Hutch, they run back towards the house. They're being chased by this ghost carriage again. Um, they make it through the graveyard and into the mausoleum part of
Hmm.
this tower.
Yeah.
Um, he's got an extra rose. So he's like, ha, take that, ghost carriage. Able to kind of dispel that for a little bit.
Mhm.
And then yeah, so like to get to these like catacombs, you have to like go into, I guess, the foyer of this tower, which is also like the coffin of Bathory, which they have to
Yeah,
like open up and climb down into. Is
sure.
that the only way to get in there?
I guess so.
I suppose so. Basically, they're making their way through the catacombs. They get chased by some ghost girls, which I was gonna say, if there was like any part of this movie that was kind of effectively a
Oh,
little
the
creepy,
contortionist little girl.
yeah.
Yeah,
Even
that
if the
I thought that
CGI
was
is
kind of
bad.
fun. Yeah, even though the CGI is bad, it it works. Yeah, I agree.
So they make their way through the catacombs. I think they're almost attacked by Bathory, but
Mhm.
Abigail's got a rose and uses it. Roses are really effective. Keep a good amount of roses on you,
Yeah,
you
they,
know?
they could have made it through this whole thing.
I would have just, yeah, just started just covering myself in them. But
Yeah,
every
just
time
wear
you,
them.
right, they make their way into the torture chamber,
Mhm.
which I'm like, if the torture chamber is way the fuck over there, in the 5 minutes they were playing, like Miller, where the fuck were you? Were you able to get all the way over there at some point? Like, I don't know. I went through the graveyard and climbed into a coffin and went down into the
Yeah,
catacombs
a
and
whole
then
ass
found this torture
detour.
chamber. Yeah, I'm like, how the fuck did you make it all the way over there in like 5 minutes when we're all literally still standing at like the front porch?
Yeah, they didn't make it past the front door.
They get separated again. Abigail is still stuck in the torture chamber side of the
Mhm.
door, and Hutch is on the other side, hoping to find, I guess, the body of Bathory. I don't know if it's explained at this point that they have to find her body and do the
Yeah,
ritual.
they explain that at some point that they need to find her actual body because like her actual blood needs to burn. But what I think is so interesting, and just to go back a little bit, right after Abigail is saved by um Frankie Muniz, they like have this big dramatic kiss. And then you cut to this part, and when they get separated, you would think that these two have been together, like they're in love, they are soulmates, like the way that they are just so upset by being separated by this door. And I'm like, didn't you just meet this girl at your friend's funeral last fucking week? Let
Has it
her
been a
be.
whole week? I thought it was like
I
two
don't even
days.
know if it's been a week. Either way, like just let her go. Let her be a distraction while you go to the witch. Like, leave her in the torture chamber, give her her fucking rose to protect her. But, like, you might make it out of this alive, and your fucking girlfriend from 2 days ago will just be a fond memory. So, like, is leave her behind. That bothered me so much. So, so much.
So he realizes that he's going to have to finish this on his own.
Mhm.
He goes, Abigail, will you accept this rose? And she's just like the show. And
Yeah.
she's like, also, I got something for you. Here's that lighter. You're gonna need it. Go
Hmm.
for it, Tiger. And he's like, I remember this. So remember, this lighter is important.
The
Um,
most important.
so he goes upstairs, finds Bathory's body, in very good condition,
She's
considering,
very well preserved. When was she supposed to have passed?
well, in real life for this version of her.
Either.
Yeah, like hundreds of years ago, but in
So
real life. But
so is that because she is killing? Is that keeping her preserved or her youth?
I suppose. Yeah, the real Elizabeth Bathory died in 1614, so
Yeah, that's what I'm
quite a ways
saying.
away.
Like a real fucking long time ago. I'm
Yeah.
assuming this is supposed to be less time, like that she had died, but yeah, I'm guessing that's how she keeps her young looking skin. She's just killing people, bathing in blood, and then just rests in the meantime.
Hutch starts nailing away, doing his
Yeah.
business. Meanwhile, you've got Abigail down in the torture chamber who is taking literally her only means of defense,
Oh
which
my
is this rose,
gosh.
and
I
just
can't
starts
with this
doing this
girl.
like he loves me not
Yeah.
situation. What the fuck is this up with this character?
Her character's so bad. And it's just, again, I think to myself, I'm like, what is her purpose other than to just be annoying and desperate? Like the he loves me not thing. Is that Rose gonna work?
Yeah, why is this girl even necessary? Like, why couldn't it just been like October, you know?
Yeah, exactly. She would have been a better, like, little pair, little
Yeah.
final pair.
So, you know, while he's trying to finish this ritual, Ghost Bathory shows up again and starts attacking Abigail,
Mhm.
hangs her up upside down. He thinks he succeeds, getting all the nails in, but then
Hmm.
but you're supposed to do the fire situation, right? So I don't know why he thinks like, oh, okay, I've
Was
got
he
this.
looking for the lighter?
Or maybe he was. I don't know. Keep that shit in your pocket. Why would you put that in your bag? Then you have to fucking like fiddle through all that shit. I'm
Yeah,
always losing shit at the
have
bottom
it
of my bag.
handy. Yeah, have it
Yeah.
handy.
So I guess he's doing that.
Mhm.
Um, all this does is piss her off and
Oh,
make
she's
her body
real
come alive.
mad.
Yeah, she sits right up. And
Hmm.
you're like, oh fuck, uh-oh. She kind of looks okay here. I don't know,
Yeah,
but
I just don't understand. Well, it goes from being an actress like in makeup to the CGI again, is what it looks like. But if she is a functioning ghost corpse witch, whatever she is,
mhm,
why didn't she just attack people that way?
I know.
What do we
I
need
don't get it.
a whole online gaming situation for? Or maybe she just got trapped into it because that game developer made the game and then that was it. She was like, "Oh, this is my opportunity."
So she's ready to kill him. But he's like, ha, I remember, he has some flashback of someone saying, like, mirrors piss her off.
Yeah.
So he uses the case of Swink's laptop, his Alienware
Hmm.
laptop, which is very, very chrome and reflective.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, you think it's just, I just don't like that aesthetic because
No.
you just get fucking fingerprints all
Yep.
over it.
It looks
Oh,
dirty always. Hmm.
yeah. So I'm surprised that you got that good of reflection on there. Because he points it right at her. She sees not only herself, but like a very distorted version of herself, which maybe that
Hmm.
added to it. She's like,
She's like,
oh my,
"Oh."
I look like that? Fuck. Oh
She's like,
shit.
"I've been killing children left and right and I still look this fucked up."
I know. Um, that pisses her off. That makes her face stretch, her like
I,
jaw stretch
I
open.
like her jaw stretch scream actually.
Yeah, me
I
too.
like that shot.
But then he proceeds to light the room on fire, which works, or at least
Yeah.
I guess it stops Bathory, but not really, as we'll see. But
Yeah. He's got a nice little dramatic flashback too for his little backstory.
yeah, because then he's like, oh, geez, I'm right back in that thing that gave me so much trauma.
Hmm.
So this room's on fire. He starts kind of slinking down and sitting as he was doing as he was a kid. Um,
Hmm.
but don't worry, Swink's still alive. He breaks open the door, saves the day with Abigail, who's just like
Hmm.
throwing roses left and right behind her.
Yeah.
They're able to pull him out, and then yeah, it kind of pretty much it for them. They think
Yeah.
they did it.
Yeah. They're like mission accomplished. Ding dong, the witch is dead.
And then we cut to some unknown, length of time in the future.
Hmm.
And we're back to that video game store where the detective was at and that
Yeah.
clerk. Um, yeah, apparently this game got like a publishing deal,
Yep.
got,
With no
a
one
fucking,
representing it.
yeah, it gets like a fucking cover, feature on Game Informer,
Yeah.
which rest in peace, Game Informer.
Yeah. I was like, I don't think that exists anymore.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. I guess everyone just like, and again, like like review copies would have gone out.
Mm.
People would be playing this game, so I guess you're just left to assume that everyone's gonna die who is playing this game. I don't know.
Well, that was what my question was. If the witch corpse zombie ghost woman, if she's dead or gone, then is it just a regular survival horror game?
No, I mean, I guess so. My understanding was that like it's like, oh, she's gonna be just summoned again.
Hmm.
Because I was like, then, I mean, I guess does like nailing her in the face and setting her on fire, does that only like save you from your game? And that's the only way you can beat this game? And then anytime anyone
Whoa,
plays the
like everybody
game,
has a different type of situation?
well, no, but I mean, like, that's apparent if that's the only way to beat the game. I don't know. So I don't know if they were just beating the game on their playthrough by killing Bathory
Oh,
here,
I see what
or
you're
if they were
saying.
actually stopping her for good, because I think that's what they think they were doing.
I think
But,
that's what they think they were doing, but because it's a video game, if you start over, that would regenerate her.
right?
Yeah,
So,
damn. Well,
hmm,
that's fucked.
I guess, yeah. So, and it sucks because I'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna play that game. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, we totally would play that game.
Yeah. All right. And that's the end of our movie. Did I forget anything?
No, it's such a short movie. How could you?
Oh, it felt long.
Well, when you were, it's funny, this has happened before, where when you are walking through the plot, it seems like more happened and more interesting things were going on, but no, no.
Maybe I just sell it with a pizzazz. I don't know.
Oh, pizzazz.
Yeah.
Okay.
Little extra little hoot, extra little toot,
Little,
you know? I'm not
sure.
sure. No. Little cherry on top, spruce that Sunday up. I don't know. Jeez. Um, yeah. Well, I guess I'm ready to hear some taglines.
I am happy to say that this movie has five taglines, and I like all five.
Oh, there you go. There's a plus.
I think, yeah, I think you do know one of them. Do you want to guess one?
It's something about like, you die in the game, you die in real life kind of
Yeah.
situation.
So it's you die in the game, you die for real. That's one.
It's called permadeath.
Yeah, there you go. Everyone knows that one. So there's four more. There's the only thing you'll lose in this game is your life. Pretty direct.
Okay.
If you play, you'll never see the light of day. Little rhyme. Little rhyme in action.
That's, it's kind of like throwing shade at like consistently kind of online gamers, that
Oh.
are told to go touch grass
Oh.
kind of situation.
That's true. I
Like
like
when your
that.
husband was
Yeah.
playing Warcraft
Oh
for
God.
some ungodly amount of time.
That's the equivalent to my house fire Nintendo controller melting trauma.
Oh, you wanted to set the place on fire because he wouldn't stop playing
Well,
WoW.
I mean, now, yeah, just a lot of PTSD there. Um, okay, it's a game. It's the game of life and death.
I would have preferred, like, I feel like that would be a good tagline for like Clue or Ready or Not, that are more
Oh
like
yeah.
board game themed because it's
Okay.
the game of life, is that board game, and the and
Yeah,
death is a fun
I
little
agree with that.
little bit at the end.
And then I think my favorite one is play it to death.
Yeah, that's good too.
Yeah. I think those are pretty solid taglines considering how bad this movie is.
Probably the cleverest part.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a low bar though.
It is a low bar for sure.
Um, so for boo scores, I want you to go first.
Oh, you want me to go first, even though you
Yeah,
picked it? Okay,
yeah.
that's fair. I think you went first for identity. Okay. I have only seen this movie twice. I did not enjoy it either time. What I do like about it is its concept. I love the idea of a survival horror game actually like affecting whether or not you live or die. And I loved the idea of things that were happening in the game happening in real life. I thought that was kind of fun. And I love that it's a survival horror game. So, of course, those are near and dear to my heart. Other than that, this movie is so boring. The characters are unlovable and just not fun. The kills are the only one I really remember is that one guy getting hung off the, banister thing. And there's no rules. Even if the rules were dumb, if it made sense at all and there was something for them to go off of, that would have helped for me. I would love for someone to remake this movie and do it differently and better. I'm going to give it one boo.
Fair. I I think this movie, again, even at what do we say, like,
An hour and 18. It felt so
yeah.
long.
So even at 78 minutes, you're like, you could trim this down, keep it bloodless, and it be like an episode of Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the
Yes.
Dark?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
then I think it would hit a lot harder that way.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This movie is
Like as a spooky story.
yeah. I like the concept of it, and the game looks fun to play,
Yes, it does.
even if it is just kind of dumb.
Hmm.
And you're just walking through a haunted house.
Yeah.
You're right. I don't like any of the characters. They're all obnoxious. None of them have any motivations I care about.
Hmm.
Anything that's revealed about them, I care even less.
Yeah, you're like, why?
Man, I don't know if they're just selling this movie to Frankie Muniz and they're like, don't worry, Swink is gonna be like the guy. He's gonna be like like McLovin levels. He's gonna take over the zeitgeist for a while. Everyone's gonna be like Swink
Everyone's gonna be wearing a visor
upside down.
upside down.
And it's whew, yeah, it's hard. It's none of it wants to make sense. It just forces itself on you, and it's just relentlessly boring. And I'm sorry I made you watch this. Sorry that I made other
Thank you.
people watch this if they watched it in order
I
to
mean,
listen to
got a
this
couple
episode.
comments of people who were excited for it. I don't know if that was sarcasm.
I think it's rose-tinted glasses, Same with me.
Yeah,
Like when I was like, let's do this movie. It'll be fun. How bad could it be?
it
I
was
agree with
bad.
you. Yeah, one boo.
Mm, all right,
But watch it, if
I
it was on
will.
in a hotel room, yeah, sure, maybe.
You would leave it on if it was on in the hotel room?
Yeah, probably.
I probably would too.
I don't know if I would actively watch it. Like I would
No,
be like,
no, no. It would just strictly be on in the background while I'm reading or scrolling on my phone doing something else.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else before I turn this off and hit eject? Maybe the
No,
other way around.
I'm so glad you chose this movie. Just so I
Yeah, me
could
too.
just check the box of like, okay, it was as bad as I remember.
You're welcome. I got you. Yeah, dang, that's all I got, everybody. Take care. I mean, go treat yourself to a horror video game. Don't wait till spooky season. It's always spooky season
Yeah.
for that situation. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Play
go
Alan
pick.
Wake.
Yeah, go play Alan Wake and go
Yeah,
play Alan Wake 2, because that's just,
I still need to.
dang. All right, take care, everybody. Three, two, one, ghost. Thank you for listening to our episode on Stay Alive. If you liked what you heard, and I would sure hope so if you made it this far, please give us a 5 boo review on whichever platform you're listening on. We're quite active on Instagram, so make sure to follow us there and continue the conversation, especially if you have any movies in mind you'd like us to cover. Also, if you've seen the director's cut of Stay Alive, can you please let us know what we left out? And if it helps anything about this movie make more sense, it would be much appreciated. Do you play horror games? I'm personally always on the lookout for something good I may have missed, so hit us up with your recommendations there too. Next week, we're revisiting a classic horror anthology film with 1982's Creepshow. Take care, we'll see you next time, and please, knock before you enter your roommate's room. At least give him a minute to hide the pig mask. Three, two, one, ghost.